I'd like to welcome everyone to the Goshen Township Trustee meeting of March 10th, 2014, 7 p.m. Please be sure to sign in and check the box if you'd like to speak. I'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, Mr. McCracken?
Yes.
Mr. Heineman?
Yes.
Mr. Beeson?
Yes.
And I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
I'll second the motion to pay the bills.
Roll call vote, Mr. Heineman?
Yes.
Mr. Beeson?
Yes.
Mr. McCracken?
Yes.
Okay, I have the February bank statement. It's in balance again with the bank. Need to have you guys initial this is Star Ohio and also the bank. Also like to request that we all work together to have better communication. We're finding bills that show up 30 days after they're due. I mean, after they've been sent out, or maybe 2 weeks after they're sent out, they arrive at my office. I don't know if they're sitting on a desk or whether it's a post office delivered it late. Jim's had some issues with some late stuff showing up. We just, we all got boxes. How about, if you hold it, don't hold it. Get it to the right box, and we don't want to be late on some of this stuff. So that's all I've got for today.
I think I'm going to change things up a little bit since we have the fire chief and the police chief are in a meeting right now. We're going to hold off on the department reports. We do have a couple guests here this evening. From the Commissioner's Office, Anna Villasenas, and Audrey, and I forget your last name. Okay. And you guys are welcome to come up and tell us how much money you're going to give us down this end of the county. Well, is that why you're here? Bring us money?
Oh, yeah. Of course. Why else would we show up? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That would be a nice goal. I wish we could accomplish and give everybody, because it's kind of been a rough time for everybody. So.
Well, unfortunately, you're here to ask me.
And we'll take anything you can give right now, believe me.
That's right. Well, I understand.
We do appreciate your giving us the time to speak in regards to the sales tax. Basically, I'm Audrey Tillis. I'm the Director of Budget and Finance for Mahoning County. Anna is our Special Projects Coordinator. She works with the grants and a lot of our CDBG funds, things like that, and she also works with me on the budget side. On behalf of the Commissioners, I want to thank you again for letting us come out and talk in regards to the sales tax. And we will be brief with you, so we won't take up a lot of your time. I know you have a full agenda probably. We're going to just hit on some couple bases. Basically, on the May 6th ballot, there's the issue 2, which would be a continuation of the 5%, 0.5% sales tax. Basically, it's a renewal. It's going to be for a continuing period of time. The previous was 5 years, and it's been going back and forth. This revenue is a crucial part of the general fund's support. The county or the general fund budget can't even operate without it. It would really be a devastating blow of it not being there. It is something that's definitely needed for the general fund. As I said again, this is not new revenue to us. This is what we have currently, and it's to continue on with that. And the reason we're doing it continuing, because really there is no option that this can go off. It's like $15.5 million is what the 0.5% generates for the general fund. Right now we have in total 1%. 0.5% is on a continuing period, and then this 0.5% is up for a renewal. A couple things that I want to point out to you guys right now. In our current general fund budget, basically last year in total expenses, we had about $53 million in expenses. And we kind of like broke it down a little bit so that you can see. When we talk about the general fund, the county's overall budget is about $300 million. Only about 17% of that relates to the general fund, and here you would know that too, where you have different levies and other funds, but then your general fund is for specific purposes. And that's what the county's general fund is. In our county's general fund, these two pieces of our pie basically are public safety and judicial. And in here is a part of judicial too, where we have Court of Appeals and the prosecutor's office. So with that and those two pieces, that's about $39 million that happens just with our public safety and judicial that goes into the general fund. In the general fund, we also have a sport Veteran Services Commission is also funded out of the general fund, and that's by Ohio Revised Code, a certain statute and dollar amount. The other is Board of Elections is also funded by the general fund, and that is also Ohio Revised Code. So there's not a whole lot of things that are not required as far as Ohio Revised Code and funding in the general fund. All of our elected officials, except for the county engineer, is funded in the general fund. So basically that's so you can understand the 1% that we currently have, which part of that we're asking for the renewal, basically covers, it doesn't even cover what all of these, just those services are. About a little over 8% are all the other departments, which would be our treasurer, recorder, planning commission, commissioner's office, data processing board, microfilm, and our facility. So basically, a good portion of our budget relates to public safety and justice, and we want people to understand that. These are things that we as a county have to have. They're your common pleas court, your domestic court, your probate court, and those are services that everybody at one point in time is going to end up having to use. With that too, we had another chart that we put up too. Only 5 counties out of the 88 counties in Ohio, which are the blue and the green counties, basically have a general fund portion of their sales tax that goes into the general fund of at least less than 1%. Everyone else, that's 83 counties, have 1% or more. 61 counties have more than 1% that support their general fund. Right now, we're at 1%. Our general fund has had a lot of hits lately. A lot of that is the revenue associated with the local government fund and the reductions we had, and it's similar that you guys got to cut in the local government fund also. Our investment income, and that's pretty much with everybody. We're saying the same things going on. But they're very big hits for the general fund. The other one is we had housing federal prisoners. Out of those 3 categories alone, it's about $10 million reduction out of our general fund. The sales tax that we're asking supports our current services, but it still is not enough to completely support us. Right now, we're still looking at ways to balance out our budget for this year. And so it is crucial. We've used carryover dollars, one-time monies, and things like that to get us from year to year since the economic downturn, and those options are running out. One of the things that we want to say about the 0.5%, basically if you had discretionary income, a lot of us have a whole lot of that, not too much anymore, but when you do, let's say if it's about $10,000 of discretionary, that's mean money that you can spend for things, not your food, not your milk, not your medicine, things like that. It would be like your clothing, cars, things, stuff like that. Then out of that $10,000, then on an annual basis, what it would cost you is $50. That's how 0.5% equates back to the average citizen. To me, the sales tax and the revenue that you spend for the general fund is probably one of the biggest things you get for your buck for taxes and for your government and what you see. It's those direct services, and the citizens, the ones who work and the staff that work within the county government, the ones that are coming back and they're putting back into the economy of Mahoning County. They're going to the vendors, they're going to the stores, they're going to the hospitals and things like that and keeping those things afloat. So these dollars are dollars that do come back into it back into our county and get reinvested back into here. So I think it's a good thing, it's a good dollar that's being spent, and it is definitely needed. We're doing everything that we can to kind of make it from one year to the next, and the reason why we're doing this is it doesn't make sense to keep coming back for something that we know is a crucial part of the general fund. We can open that up for any questions. Anna, do you want to put anything else to that?
I just want to say I've been through it, setting up here for the years, and Anna was here when it did get voted down and back on, and what it did to budgets and so forth for not just 1 year, actually lasted over a 3-year period to get things back on an even keel again. And I don't want to see that happen again. Nobody wants to pay the tax.
Right.
But I think it's one that's already there, and I think we need to make it continuous, so it's something that's not coming back every so many years on this. Because you can't schedule what you're doing in the future with your budgets unless you know that what you've got coming in. So
some of the big things that have happened that the county has done, we're looking at all kinds of innovations. We met with the chamber this morning and kind of said some of the things that the county is doing. We're looking at data processing, things that we can make things more efficient. We're putting in more efficient systems like the boilers in the courthouse. They went down from 14 to 4 boilers in the courthouse to make that more efficient, to give us cost savings that way. We have older buildings. We do have older buildings, and they're at the point of where they do need needs and structures like that. But this basically is meeting just our base budget, and we're still short even with this. What happened in 2012 is the sheriff's union came off of concessions, and we were able to bring them off of concessions, but it was at a cost. That cost is like $1.5 million. They were back to their 2008 wages, and they don't have that high of wages. A lot of things that were those extra things that filled their pocket was what was gone, and it kept some other what these county also uses is reserve deputies, and they couldn't use those reserve deputies, which helps expands our force of deputies in the county. They couldn't use that as long as we had anybody off of layoff. The sheriff was able to completely open the jail, and those are things that we want to keep moving forward. We don't want to go backwards. The courts are looking at e-filing. They're looking at being able to do electronic filing with their records and their documents. That's going to help and bring some efficiencies there. So the county's looking at ways to consolidate, to conserve. Anna, you want to speak a little bit on the 911 and what we're doing there, and looking at, these are other ways that we're looking at and trying to work together with others and bring collaboration. But at the same time, this is something that still is needed even with that.
The commissioners basically requested that I write a grant to the local government innovation fund. And what that is basically our dollars at the state that they're giving back to us through an application process. But we did apply today. I submitted the grant for a 911 consolidation and
For study.
For a study to see how we can best implement cost savings and process improvements to increase public safety in Mahoning County. We want everybody to have the best communications possible, reducing or providing the communications necessary for our law enforcement and safety service providers with a live data stream and a coherent data stream provides the ability to redirect federal or other government funds. So we can invest in infrastructure, we can invest in more programs or maybe more personnel. So we need to upgrade our public safety and get everybody on the same page and make sure everybody's needs are being met. The goal of that grant is to expand public safety at an improved cost. So everybody, I know this side of the county tends to feel like they're left out, but I will let you know that I made sure that the west end of the county was addressed in the application and will be reviewed and acknowledged for their needs individually.
Right. And it's to bring everybody to the table, too, and that's the purpose of the grant. It had pretty much overwhelming support from all of the townships, the city. Pretty
Yeah,
much everyone,
I mean,
the university, everyone.
Yeah, we had a large support base come together should the grant come through to share information on our needs in the county, and that consultant that we would be able to hire to evaluate the services, I mean, we will strictly request from them to provide a cost-effective plan to implement the efficiencies that we need. And we know a lot of it is cost prohibitive for smaller townships or just the interoperability of communications themselves, but there's kind of two levels. If we can't afford to redo the whole radio system, we can at least provide a strict operating standards to make sure that everybody has access to the appropriate communications. So we're hoping that grant comes through. We'll probably know in about 2 months. They're pretty quick on the turnaround time for that. A couple other things just with grants and the sales tax. A lot of grants require local match, and that is something that there is little or none of. I mean, the only matching funds that the county's providing right now is for mandated services like job and family services, child support, soil and water,
Emergency
and
management.
emergency management agency.
And Ohio State Extension are the ones that we're doing, but they're limited amounts. The reason why is a lot of those have a matching dollar. With child support, for every dollar we give them, they get $2. It's not at the level that they need to be. They're still in a deficit, and we're still trying to work down through that right now with that agency. For soil and water, they get like 85 cents for every dollar that we give them. That works out in the townships, and they have the one person who actually goes out and does assessments and stuff. The other one is Ohio State Extension. We give $125,000. Last year we were able to put another $50,000 in. We're looking at other avenues to try to help with that additional $50,000. We're looking at everywhere we can. The general fund is very limited. As I said, I'm still short by $1.4 million as far as balancing out this year. Trying to make sure that we cover everything that's required for the general fund before I can actually reach out. But the board still felt that they needed to reach out to these agencies in whichever way they could. We're just trying to make it happen, but I know going into next year that deficit is about $6 million. And we've got to look at what we're doing. The board is looking at their options for the November ballot too, as far as any additional tax. But this right now, they wanted to get this one on. They wanted to get it on for a continued period of time so that it's now behind us and we can move forward. The goal is not to have our county be reactive or proactive, be able to move forward on things and be able to look at things. I know when we met with the township trustees, the presidents of the township trustees, one of their things where there were in the past dollars that went out to the townships, and that we're able to get some of that sharing and stuff like that. And so the board heard that too, and we're looking at all kinds of areas and how we can make this work for the county as a whole and meet some of the holes that all of us are dealing with.
Any questions?
Yeah, this grant you're talking about,
Yes, sir.
is this for a steady of the 911?
Yes.
How much is it for?
The application is for $50,000 to complete a feasibility study. The goals of the grant are for the consultant to analyze the 800 megahertz versus the MARC system from Mahoning County, to implement and review, due to the topography of Mahoning County, how best to meet the communication needs at both ends of the county, and a consolidation into one location. The effectiveness, the ability, and the cost. So we can have a plan. It's not going to happen. We're not going to get a study done and do everything in 1 year. There'll be meetings and collaborations to fund certain portions of the implementation. Another thing the Local Government Innovation Fund has is a loan program, a zero-interest loan program, where you can get up to $100,000 per collaborative partner. So if we have 5 partners, we can get $500,000. That can implement a portion of the consolidation that we're working towards. So that was the other thing that was asked for, was a consistent timeline to implement the most enhancements in a small amount of time, to move from the majority to then moving into the other areas, not of the county, but in the other areas that need upgraded or changed. So the focus is to get everybody we can moving in the right direction. Because not only do we want, and what I've heard from the fire chiefs and the police chiefs and all the wonderful organizations that gave me support letters for the grant, is that the interoperability of communications is important. They're all willing to come and share the information that they have, and we need to move forward in order to meet the compliance requirements of the state. So it's not just a blind study that the county's done every 4 or 5 years for the last 10 years. This is something that we need an honest plan that we can all come to the table and weigh out the differences between the pros and cons for the county. So it really is a county initiative. There's no special interest. The commissioners do have some general ideas about the consolidation that they want reviewed in the grant. But again,
It's open right now.
it's open, and that's something I wrote right into the grant, that we have locations we would like reviewed so that we know whether we can rule them out or actually move forward with implementation in some format. And if the locations don't meet any of the requirements that a communication system, a 911 mutual aid dispatch communication system would need, then I did place it upon the consultant in the application at this point to provide a third option. So I think that we'll get some constructive input at $50,000. A lot of people say that's not a lot of money to do what you want.
We're looking at a match with
But
that, though. We do have...
The commissioners were looking, we didn't have time to pass the resolution, but they did consider providing a $50,000 match should the grant be awarded through the 911 real estate assessment funds. So again, that's non-general funds that we would be using.
Well, right now, do we have 7 answering
We have 8.
spots? We have 8 right now. And the state's recommending just 1. Is that true?
1, and we can get away with 2, and then some of the discussion, which I'm not completely convinced that, which is why we're getting a third-party consultant to express any options that we may have, that the definition of a public safety answering point may expand to maybe 3 equal 1, or I'm not sure. I've heard this.
It's a need for a consultant to make it clear what the state is considering a PSAP versus what the county considers a PSAP. But so they will give us that clarity.
Okay.
And the other thing is I did, and I want you all to know that should the grant be awarded, and the 911 Executive Board will review and prepare the RFP, request for proposals for the consultant. But also, we will have, and I'm not sure where, how, maybe Cavelli Center, and have all interested parties come and listen to the presentation of the consultant. I've said many times to the commissioners and Audrey, I don't want just a big book that tells us Goshen uses VHF and these people use this. We know that. Our knowledge, our base knowledge in the police and public safety personnel that we have, they don't need a consultant to tell them that. We need a consultant to tell us what the cost is going to be, what's the most effective channel or station and so forth to move to. A lot of the previous reviews were based on saying Goshen has this, this, and this. Well, Goshen can come tell me they have this, this, and this. I don't have to have a consultant. So we have an in-kind contribution, which we may take up segments like that, where me or myself or Maggie McGee will come to the community and do some of the research and collect some of the data for the consultant. We're not sure exactly how the implementation will take place, but we have put about $20,000 of in-kind in the application, so.
Do you have a consultant picked already?
Oh, I did, no.
No, it would most likely go out with an RFP, and from that point,
Well, RFQ. An RFP was in the application. I guess there's some language in the 911 Executive Board statutes that says that you don't have to complete an RFP, but considering the funding source is different, the participation throughout the community is there, I think it would just benefit everybody to know that we completed the request for proposals per the Mahoning County Purchasing Department policies and procedures. The grant is actually going to be accepted by the commissioners. It's not being made to the 911 board. It's being made to the commissioners. We will be the fiscal agent, and therefore, I feel, and Audrey's basically my supervisor, I'm sure that she and we've never had any discussion about going any other direction than following the purchasing and policy procedures that the commissioner's office follows. So, that being said, I feel strongly about maintaining that point.
The issue would be, too, that we want to make sure that there is an independent review. So that way, if we have the requests come in and then people have a chance to review those proposals and then make a choice, and everybody feels that, okay, this is an independent person, instead of somebody saying, this is my person.
Well, that's what I wanted to make sure on this one here, because in the past, that hasn't happened.
We'll make sure.
And it's created a lot of conflict between fire and police.
We'll make
Since
sure
I'm
that-
sitting with both of them now, I sort of hear both sides, and that's a big issue for this.
Yeah,
So,
when I worked at Portage County, the sheriff was getting the mark system, and going back and forth, and I told Anna it was the most interesting
Dynamic.
It was interesting. It was very
Does the state
interesting.
have a deadline when this has to be completed on how many PSAPs a county has to have?
I think that the legislation said like 2017, which is
It has to
really
be in
not that
place.
far away.
that's,
Yeah.
But everybody seems to be ready to come to the table, so that's a good thing. But that's just an example of, how we're trying to look at ways to consolidate and how to make better use of the funds that we do have. We only have so much. And it would be nice to be able to do a lot more things proactive, but right now, this continuing revenue that we have with the sales tax is to support what we have right now, and it doesn't completely get us there, is the point I guess I would make and end with.
One concern I have is, this has happened before.
The review for the 911
And it seems like there's always money
order.
I think it was a couple years ago, we went through this, and it seems like this is like almost the third time that we've considered maybe doing this. What's different this time than the last two times?
I would like to just be open and honest, and I think the change is our leadership. We do have a change in leadership at the realm in Mahoning County. There's not been seen so much collaboration between elected officials, the commissioners, the sheriff, the auditor. I mean, everybody is really coming together. I don't know if it's because they see more eye to eye or they understand the need to implement a program now. I mean, it's really coming to the point we have to do something.
And the thing with, and Anna's right, we do have a lot more collaboration in the county. Just the other day, the sheriff came in to the board, and basically he was saying he's making some restructuring changes, and the board had to sign something off. But it's coming and saying, I'm doing this, are you okay with that? They're working together. I've got judges that basically were able to reallocate some of their special revenues fund into the general fund, what they could based on the higher values code, in order to help us a little bit get through this year. They would never came to the table. I did not have one judge court order their budget this year. I did not have one judge, I think I had one in City of Camel. I couldn't get them because I never talked to them, but they did not give raises this year and held that line at the request during budget hearings, and so they do understand what we're dealing with. And I think that the commissioners are very adamant on 911. I think that their heart and their desire is to move this process forward, and the commissioners we have right now, they're just not holding their feet on things. They're moving as fast as they can with it. And everybody works in government here, and you know it doesn't move as fast as we would like it to move sometimes. But as fast as we can, yes, they're going to move forward on this. Anything else? Well, I thank you for letting us come, and when you go and you see it on the issue and it'll say, sales tax renewal, I pray that you would vote for it, and that you would go for that, and that you would let anyone else know. Our doors are always open if you want to come and see, the numbers or anything. We try to keep an open policy as far as the information. We're not trying to hide anything from anyone. If we make it happen and we get out and we have more, it's because we tried to do everything to make it happen. We really do. We're trying everything that we can. We're trying to be very wise with every dollar that we have. But we also understand the needs of others, too.
I would also like to bring up, the county has made some major cuts. And how many have been cut in the departments around you that you've taken on?
Well, actually, I'm in a unique situation because the Special Projects Office was funded with the first sales tax in 1999 that was passed, and we had 6 people in the office, and we had some matching funds available to us, and we were able to write grants in excess of $22 million. Since then, through the active attrition, people moving on and so forth, I'm kind of the last man standing. I'm now the grant writer, the grant fiscal agent, and the special projects coordinator, which means when any other department doesn't know where to send it, it comes to me. So I find it interesting. I never have a boring day, and I get to get out in the community and talk to different agencies and so forth. So I really do enjoy it. I just wish that, slowly, I hope that we can get back to a situation where we have some of our own discretionary money, where we can actually be proactive with any good idea. There's nothing off limits. It just becomes prohibitive when you're dealing with a shortfall this year. Projections of next year not being so.
I think, and that's pretty much across a lot of your support offices. I know the budget office, and I only started with the county in July of 2012, but I forget when, but they had, probably 4 or 5 staff in the budget office?
Oh yeah, everybody's down. Every office in the county.
Me and Anna and one other.
We're 2 people.
Yeah.
But at least in the Commissioner's building, under the Commissioner's auspice of payroll and production, which is purchasing, HR, special projects, OMB, accounts payable, we are one-man department. We don't have the luxury.
We desperately need more facilities people, though. We're really, our buildings are not getting what they need because of the need for facilities people.
Maintenance.
There's a lot of prosecutor's office is another area where he's had some reduction, and his support staff was where he's really lost more that he needed to get more, and he put that before the board, but there was nothing that their hands were tied this year to do that.
That's what a lot of the public out here doesn't see, how many positions have been deleted.
Well, the treasurer's office used to have 25 people. They're down to 8. The purchasing department used to have 4 or 5. They're down to 2. A director and a worker bee or whatever, Yeah, there is no fluff in the budget anymore. The good old days of county government, I'm too young to remember, and they were gone before I got hired. But Audrey and I worked with Audrey in developing the handout that you have today. If you want to take some home, share them with family and friends.
Yes,
they are clear cut to the dollar. There's not many averages or adjustments. I made sure Audrey took those out. You lose people once you start going into that. So, they are actual costs and needs and so forth. So we are no frills budget for the county.
It is. Okay.
Okay.
Do you girls have business cards?
I did,
I
mine are in the car.
I think I do have one in my, I do have one.
Yeah, one of these.
Sure.
Good.
Yes, we will definitely do that.
Any other questions? Good.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, Jim?
February totals, we used approximately 64 ton of salt grit mix, 560 gallons of fuel, put 1,959 miles on the trucks. I got a couple little things tonight. I've been approached by a couple residents on Diagonal Road expressing their dissatisfaction in how that road has turned out. They thought the tiling would help, and a couple spots have gotten worse. Wonder if we could go ahead and get some prices on getting that chipped and fixed up for the spring. I know we said we were going to do it last year, but if we wait, we're not going to get any material to get it done. So I want to make sure we can get the slag or limestone, whatever it comes down to using. I want to make sure we can get it this year.
When you say issues, it's not structural issues we're having problems with?
Oh no, there's a few of them too. There's some spots of mud's coming up through the center of the road. It's getting bad in a few spots.
With the stone that we have left, how much stone do we need to get?
I wouldn't suggest using 8s on that as a base coat. It'll never bind together. We need some bigger stones.
Yeah, I would say
We could top it with 8s, but I gotta figure out how much we're gonna need. Emulsion stayed about the same price from last year, but stone went through the roof.
Good.
If we can get slag. And slag's not sounding very good, so. I know that was one of the things we talked about last year, putting the drainage in, we would chip it this summer. But I want to get ahead of it before it falls completely apart.
Why don't you do some investigation and see what we can find in stone, where our prices are, sort of come up with the tonnage we think we need, maybe try and get everything put together, so maybe at the April meeting we could sort of go with something if we know what's there. See where our budget lies too, we do need to look at that.
Yeah.
What do you think about like a 6M, Jim?
That's what I'd like to see, but I don't think we're going to find any 6s. I did some investigating on that, and there's really, if we can find any, they're pretty pricey. And in talks with other townships and in the same boat we are, looks like everybody's going to go to limestone for their bigger material and then choke it with 8 slag if it's feasible to spend the money on it. So, see what we can get is the biggest thing.
No, they're using a 57 or like a 57M? Or...
Like a 57M.
Is that what Bert used down there last year?
No, he used slag.
He used slag last year?
Yeah, and they're having problems with that. And they're having issues with that.
Well, they are, that's what I was asking. I thought he used some fine stuff.
Yeah, I'll get some information and bring it to the next meeting. The other thing I have is the advertisement of that yellow truck in the Township Association meeting. I looked it up and it's $20 to list it in one of their magazines and list it on their website for 2 months. I've got pictures and all the information together already on the truck. I wonder if I could go ahead and put it on there until spring, and if we don't move it, take it to an auction so we can get rid of it.
Roger and I both sat through a class down there that sort of went over on the sale of equipment and so forth like that. We did find out a few cost-saving measures that we can do. I mean, that's a good way to do it there, but we can actually auction ourselves without an auctioneer. There's one way we can do it. And when we do advertise locally in publications, you only have to advertise once as long as we put the web address and everything in there on the web. So saves that second publication. That was the things I can remember. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, that was, you know, because you have to have a resolution to get rid of
Right.
a ballpoint pen almost.
Right, number one, so, I don't have any problem with maybe advertising for what you say, 2 months or whatever. I know we did come up with more what the value of it was, correct?
Yeah, that's something I guess we'll have to kind of kick back and forth. When I went up to Alliance Motors after the last meeting, I needed to get some parts, and I checked on the value. They're saying it's worth more than what we suggested at the last meeting. They said they suggested to maybe start at 14 or 15,000, but I hate to start low when we can't come up. And we can always come down if we put a minimum. If we decide to take bids for it, if we put a minimum and go from there. I mean, that's up to you guys, but they recommended a little higher price than what we had talked about at the last meeting.
What do you guys think on value?
Now, you're wanting to keep the plow?
I want to keep the plow and spreader, yes. Just for spares. Unless you guys think it ought to go with it.
Well, one thing I'm wondering, Jim, then you're going to have 3 plows for the big trucks. You got 2 trucks, and I realize, number 1 plow could break, so you can use number 2, and hopefully number 2 don't break before you fix number 1. I'm just wondering if, and usually you only use 1 big truck in the Dodge at one time, but I'm open to your.
No, if you think we can get more with the plow on it, then sell it with plow. The plow is not really. I mean, Todd saw it when it come down. It's a plow. It's nothing great. It's nothing. It's usable. Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing special. That's why I said it's just kind of a spare. The most valuable thing on that thing right now is probably the cutting edge.
And the same with the salt spreader. I'm just asking.
As of right now, if we kept that salt spreader, that would be a spare. Every truck would have one. That would just be a spare for parts, or if somebody backed into something or something happened. So if you guys think it's going to be worth more, we can get rid of it with the plow and spreader on it. It don't matter.
Could we put in the add plow and salt spreader optional, or you want to just? I don't really have any idea what either one's worth.
Yeah, I don't either.
Todd probably have a better idea.
I know what a new plow costs.
Yeah.
The only reason I was recommending keeping the spare plow too was the deal we had with the other truck getting a plow for it. As of right now, all the plow manufacturers are at least 6 months out on a plow, and if something would happen and we would trash a plow out, granted we're almost out of winter, but next year it might be the same thing. We might not get a plow for 6 months.
Right, because, you have no idea between now and next winter how many trucks and plows are going to be ordered. They could still be behind, but
Like up there, Canfield, you guys have some spares. You keep some old ones around, do you, or?
We've got 2 spare trucks.
I mean, no extra plows or anything?
We've got a couple that we draw parts off of that handle cylinders and stuff like that.
Nothing complete, then that's... I don't know, I just was thinking in the magazine, I would think a complete would look better to townships and so forth in there than just the truck itself.
You've got a better chance at landscapers are going to be interested also, some of the Kyle's parking lots or
big parking lots, grocery stores, whatever.
I think, to me, the plow is more important to stay with the truck and the spreader, but you go into township, especially some of the small ones in the south that's looking for a used truck. they don't probably wouldn't have one to put on, so they're just gonna be looking for one. So, I mean, it might deter somebody bidding on it.
Well, if you put it in, could you put it in, I mean, we got to decide whether we want to get rid of it, just put it in there, plow, salt sprayer optional.
Yeah.
I mean, then if they want just the truck, then keep the plow for sure.
Either that, or I would say, take bids on the truck and take bids on the equipment. If we set a minimum, if it doesn't bring what we want out of it, we can keep it, we can keep the plow and the spreader for backups, yeah.
What do you feel the plow and spreader's worth for backups? Keep around.
The new plow and hitch was almost $20,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So I'm saying that I know what a new one costs. So if you're going to include the plow and spreader on the truck, I feel that you ought to at least ask $20,000 for the truck, plow, and spreader, and put a minimum in there, and take bids on the whole thing. If it sells, it sells. If not, we'll take it to an auction and get rid of it all at once.
It's nice to have the backup equipment, I honestly feel it'd be more attractive to somebody as a package.
I think maybe you could advertise it as the complete package, but would consider the opposite purchasing truck without equipment or something to that.
I take bids on it two ways, one with the equipment and one without.
The only thing is I hate to get 50 phone calls on, what kind of price you looking for this or that, or if we're going to do it, let's just do it as one thing and advertise it so it's simple to put on the website and in the township newsletter.
And the other thing, you don't want some other township that broke a plow and they're looking, to take the plow, not the truck.
Right.
Our main goal is to get...
Right, so, I don't know. My thought in the back of my mind, I know Jim would like to keep it for backup, but my thought is to sell it as a package, and if it doesn't, then we can decide something from there.
I just think it'd be more attractive if it had the equipment with it, even if it was a smaller township looking for it.
Right.
They'd rather pay one price and know what they're getting than to buy a truck and then have to go out and try to find the equipment to put on it.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be this smaller township or a village or something like this that's just looking for a truck that they can afford, basically.
Of course, that's nothing for, do they have that same type of plow hitch on what they have now?
Right. I would say that most of the ones that I talked with, that's looking for these older trucks, are still running the old one-way plows yet and so forth, and I haven't upgraded to the
old
railway
Houston,
yet,
yes,
so,
yeah.
so I think we'd be a lot better off advertising as a package.
I think so too. If we end up taking it to an auction, then we have the option to take the equipment off if we don't want to let it go.
Right.
Because an auction, it could go either way, you don't know.
Right. So it's not as setting a minimum bid on it. What do you guys think?
I can agree with Jim. I think I'd start at 20, set a minimum of 20,000 if the truck's worth 14 to 15, and then you figure the plow and the spreader.
But you want to say minimum or asking price?
I think minimum bid, because I don't know, how do you want to do that?
I think, you are a little steep. That's my opinion. If you don't get any bites at all, then you're back to advertising it again and, going down to 15, 16, whatever.
What's your thoughts on a minimum or reserve?
thought is maybe go with a minimum of 18 and then hopefully you get a couple. And that's one thing we did learn down there too, is if we put in a minimum bid and take the bid packets, we can also advertise it as, at the time of bid opening, if the bidders are at the opening, they can raise their bids if they want to. No one else can come in and bid, but whoever the bidders were can raise their bids to wherever.
Do we have to put a bid packet together for this then? Since you guys sat in on that class, did they say anything about that, or can we just accept type letters with their bid on it?
Yeah, all we have to do is require in our ad that they have their name, address, and contact, pretty much just basics, just a written, can be handwritten, whatever. Yeah, we don't have to do a bid packet, any of that stuff on it, so. Pretty much how we want to lay it out. Just lay it out a bit on the website so that people can look as much there as they can and in your contacts. Yeah, we don't have to get real fancy with it. That was no issues there.
No.
What do you think, something like that?
Could go like it. Suppose we want to, what do you think you put in your minimum bid for the complete outfit? You know, we'll say 18. Of course, that could get awful confusing. You put another bid, minimum bid in.
For the trucks, that's what Jim was saying. He's going to make phone calls back
and forth.
Why don't you say successful bidder reserves the right to not take the plow and the, but that would, you'd have to be successful before you could say, I don't want the plow.
Right.
And then
And Jim has a spare.
Probably the simplest way is just throw it as a package and see what happens.
That's my thought, is just do as a package. And what do you guys think? 18's a good number to put on it. Then if you get a couple bidders, you might get it to the 20 or whatever.
You might, and you might not get any.
Might not get any. I mean, don't have a clue. But it's not that costly to advertise in a magazine like that.
Cheaper than the paper.
Oh, much cheaper than the paper. So.
If we're gonna do that, when do we want to put the bid packets need to be submitted by then?
Was it, like that
We probably won't make the deadline for the next magazine.
Yeah.
And it's advertised for 2 months on their website, so you want to give a May's meeting?
I don't know.
We have to see when the next magazine goes out. That would be. I guess we'll have to check on the magazine, either the May or June meeting.
Grab a magazine just to look at it.
I don't know without talking to publishers when you have to have the ads.
Maybe it says on the front page.
It might. I'll go look at it. How big of an ad was that you could put in there?
It was a quarter of a page for $20. So pretty much one picture, contact information, and a brief description.
Everything else on the website. Put it in there to go to the website for. You do get some pretty good pictures there, so. we want to pretty much have it in there for the 2 months, period.
Well, if you do that, because that magazine only comes once every 2 months.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be on the website for 2 months, won't it?
Right.
Yeah.
The big thing is just where we have to have the end on it.
Where did you find that price per page?
It's in the back right here.
Starting from,
Didn't say deadlines. I guess it's cool.
no, it's not on here. We could call.
Yeah, we can. I guess we could just make a resolution and then set it so it at least gets the 2 month, whatever dates comes up. Get a call, get a hold of them, why.
And that's the resolution then that we declare the surplus and set it for disposal.
And this is just to authorize selling of equipment, is that right? Or
Yes.
disposal?
This was a truck.
Okay, a roll call vote, Mr. Beeson,
Yes.
Mr. McCracken,
Yes.
Mr. Heineman.
Yes.
It's in our minutes, so. Yeah, I guess me and Tom get together, I'll be around and see what their timetable is and draft up something.
Okay. We'll get it in there.
But I think we'll have to look at the wording to make a resolution for the minimum and to where they can raise their bids if they do come. I think that's a good way to do it. Don't you, Ed?
Yeah. Okay.
Question for you, for Jim. Item number 1, the diagonal road thing, is that you're authorizing him to get stone pricing or also to get chipping pricing?
No, just a stone pressing's in materials right now, we're looking at materials.
The other thing I got, that OOPS class that Todd and I went to earlier this year, and remember they said there was going to be a continuation to it. There's another one coming up. I got a letter the other day. It's second week in April. It's in the evening in Ken at some event center. Just wanted to see if it was okay if I went to that also. That Call Before You Dig and OOPS emergency class.
Yes. I think it would be, yes.
And that's all I have.
Jim, this spots on the Agnew Road, is there any chance that we could get some of that mush out of there, maybe try to put some grindings in?
Yeah, that was, we were going to plan on doing that.
Because I'd like to get it firmed up before we look at doing any chips.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just want to kind of get a price to see what we're going to need on stone, so if I do need to get stone coming, I'm not waiting till the last minute like before and
Okay.
having everything rushed here. But yeah, that, when the weather broke, we were going to see what everything needed. But if I put patch on it now, it's not
No,
going to
it's not
stay.
gonna stay.
Yeah.
No. Plus, if it settles, with the grindings, you can always add a little bit more and all
Yeah.
that, so, no, it's very good.
Yeah. Okay, Tom's gonna give the fire report.
Hey, in January, the department had 60 runs. Yeah, that was 51 EMS runs, 9 fire runs. One of the incidents where a vehicle went off a road, cut off 2 gas meters, created quite a hazard, and situation was contained without any problem. Currently, we have 2 firefighters in firefighter 2 class, and we also have 2 firefighters in first responder class. And believe it or not, we sold our old fire truck to a department over in Pennsylvania, so it's gone and it's painted yellow, so you won't see it again, hopefully. In February, we had 51 runs, 43 EMS runs, 8 fire runs. The department had a vehicle accident where entrapment in the early part of February. The situation was handled very well. So, the department had 2 structure fires in February as well. 1 structure was a total loss. 1 was contained just to the kitchen area. So they did a good job on that. The one that was completely lost, it was gone when we got there. So. The training so far in February, we've had 101 hours of training for the department. And also, the department is currently accepting new members, so an application. So we'd love to have anybody that thinks they would like to participate. We'd appreciate it. So. Derek said he apologized, but we had a call.
Tom, in the past years, we always had 43, or so many EMS runs, and then you said so many in Goshen, so many in Butler, other. And the last 2 months, you haven't reported that. Do you have those numbers? Or
I don't have them with me, I have them
Can you get them?
personally, yeah, and I just seen that he didn't have
And in
it.
the future, if you could break it that way.
Yeah, I can do that, because I have them in my minutes, so I don't have them with me, so I'm trouble to do that. And I can tell you too, that I can get them for you probably after the meeting, so I can have
Just
them.
email it to me, and I'll be good.
Okay. I can do that, and I'll tell him when he makes these up, written up over that.
Okay. Paul?
Just for the record, I turned in $84 or something for loading them cans that I recycle. I was wondering, can we review the situation at Colonial Village as far as exactly who's paying for what? When I went there, I've talked to him several times, and my understanding was that they had an individual contract between the village and the AWI. The green team was only providing a bin, otherwise they were no connection with it.
Right.
Okay. Well then the next time I stopped in, they said, well, there's a little problem. The management does not want to sign a contract to the effect that if the bin was contaminated with materials that couldn't be recycled, then the village was still going to have to pay for that.
Right.
And the owner balked at that.
Yeah, we got that straightened out.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Lou. Yeah, I talked to the lady down there several times. I'll talked with her. Talked to Lou last Tuesday, again on Thursday. He's got a new contract out. They're going to do the same as they do with us now. Right now in our contract, the first 2 they pick up if there's any issues in the waste in there. The first two that have anything hazardous in them, or whatever, the green team
will pay for it.
Right.
If there's
Same
first 2 bins.
Yeah, that's the way ours is right now. Anything over 2, any of our bins, we would have to pay for ourselves. They put that in their contract also.
So that's,
Yeah.
so in other words, if there's any more than 2 bins, then we're going to pick it up.
Yes. But as that site there has never had anything noticed in it in the many years it's been there.
Yeah, it's
We
just-
haven't had any in ours, so I
Right.
mean, it's not an issue that's going to arise very often. I was actually there this afternoon. She hasn't received the new contract yet, but Lou said it's in the mail with all the new written stipulations in it. They both agreed to it, and the owner's supposed to be in Friday to sign it, so.
So it really, at this point, it hasn't been settled.
No, I mean, it's all agreed upon, but it's not signed, the agreement. But at this point, Green Team is still picking up the dumping of it until such time as it is
So for whatever it's worth, every time I stop there, the bin's full.
Yeah, that's, well, I've been there twice, and the first time they weren't getting it dumped because of the contract issue. When we got that straightened out, Lou says he'll keep picking up weekly until the contract is back, then they will take over at that point. So the site's definitely going to stay. They're very happy, Lou's happy, makes us happy, and yeah, that little stickling point came up after the last meeting because contract was there, and then she called me like 2 days after the meeting. Well, I was in Columbus. We got an issue.
Right, that's why I didn't understand what was going on, because I got one story here, and I go over there, and I got another story. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and I've been working with them and everything.
I was wondering about, I thought you said there was a chance that we might be able to get some funding from the Green Team for or the 2 drives next year, or this year, maybe.
Right.
Well, at any rate, I drafted a letter. Now, I don't know if the letter got sent in or what.
Yeah, I took those, my last solid waste meeting last Tuesday. I gave them to Lou while I was there. So they're on file.
They're on file, that's
And
important.
that's all I wanted to make sure that we have them on file. If there's any funds come available, we're going to be first on the list because nobody else has done that yet.
Well, even without their blessing, we could go ahead and have it. It's not going to cost us anything.
No. So I mean, that's
And if they decide to kick out a few bucks, that's fine. But
right. And I'd see.
I don't see a reason why we can't have it. And
You'd already set the dates.
yeah, I got the dates.
So.
Do you have the dates? Well,
In writing, yeah.
huh?
In writing.
Yeah, I got them in writing.
Thank you, writing, yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have.
Okay. What are the dates, just so the people? I don't have them with me here. I have them in the office.
May 17 for the scrap drive. September 13th for the electronics drive, and that'll also be our customer appreciation day.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, Paul. And yeah, I mean, anything else comes up like, you can always call me and I can sort of let you know where I'm at and working with it too, but yeah, I think we got it ironed out. It's taken a while, but I think it's going to work out, so. Okay, Steve?
Okay, for the month of February, we had a total of 457 events, for a total of 5,861 miles on the cars. I'd like to thank Jim and Roger for keeping our parking lot clean. Kind of messy there. Good job. I also would like to send out a thank you to the Damascus Fire Department for assisting our officer who was involved in a crash here a couple Sundays ago, where he had to be transported to the hospital. They did a great job. Also would like to have the trustees approve the hiring of Dylan Schaefer to reserve patrolman.
I'll make a motion to hire Dylan as a reserve.
I'll second the motion to hire Mr. Reserve.
Okay, roll call vote. Mrs. Kraken?
Yes.
Mr. Deason?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Didn't think he was going to make it. You hadn't said it in a while.
I'd like to have the trustees accept the resignation of David Eck. David took a full-time position with Dayton PD effective today. He has been working out but today was the last day for the meeting, so he has been using his time. So his resignation is effective today.
I'll make a motion to accept Patrolman X's resignation.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote. Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Deason?
Yes.
Mrs. McCracken?
Yes.
And the only other thing, I have the status of the new car. It is currently tomorrow, I believe, getting taken up to be detailed, and the design's put on it, and then it will go to the installer for all the equipment. Should be maybe a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, it should be on there. And that's all I have.
You got any report on the the rec crews are good?
Yeah, 2 weeks or 2, 3 weeks?
Bill said approximately 2 weeks the parts comes in, so this is a very easy fix, the way it was on the back. He said it's essentially, so. And he should know tomorrow when the parts will be here, we'll know more on that.
We couldn't sign in yet. We had somebody blocking the thing.
Must be March.
What do you think we're going to for? Thank you. Reminds me of that.
I don't know if you first questions on third.
Okay,
Couple things. First thing for Jim and Roger maybe, we put a lot of tile in along the roads. We never had to go back where mud pumped up, Jim. There's a problem. I wouldn't go in there and dig up that road. People put the tile in, come back and see what's the matter. I'm telling you right now, many miles that we've done in this township, we've never had that happen. Not one place.
Now, I haven't been through the road since the frost has been coming out of the road. Where's like one of the worst spots?
I'd say the worst spot is just, I'll call it south of McFeely Lawn Care, right in the center of the road. Probably an 8-foot, probably 8 foot wide and every bit of that long, right in the center.
Is the tile running water?
I haven't looked lately. The chip seal's peeling off there, it never has before, and I've seen some discolored looking stuff coming up through. I can't say for certain if it was all mud or if it was just the base coat of chip and seal, that old slag, the old blue colored stuff coming up through there, but there's stuff pumping up through, so.
Now, is it before that crossover pipe?
Yeah, it's before the crossover. Last time I looked, there was still snow on the ground, and it was when I plowed last. That's when I really noticed it, and Scott actually had stopped at the garage the other day and was concerned about the amount of mud coming up through there. I didn't make it out there to look at it since then either.
So, like between Scott's driveway and that crossover pipe?
It'd be south of the crossover pipe even yet, kind of on the hill going down towards it.
Okay.
That's probably the worst spot.
okay.
What do you think, Roger? You know, say, for instance, down on Kent Road. Before we done that, I mean, water in the spring, and it was always smashing up. After we fixed that road and put tile along there,
We didn't put tile on that road though.
no, there was, in the wet places there were. It wasn't like the whole way like up on Cal. Well, we can use Callery, for example.
Yeah.
There's a good example. Spring every time before we tile it. And I mean, that road gets heavy, used with heavy equipment. And I've never seen it, mud and stuff come up out of that road.
Well, another good example would be that stretch of Smith Goshen between Middletown and 14.
Right.
That used to really,
Right, exactly
It
right.
always pumped up
Yeah.
there.
I mean, I'm telling you, I don't think it's you guys' problem. I think the tile's something wrong. There's no way that should be pumping mud.
I was going to give it the benefit of the doubt and wait till everything thawed out and started running water and take a look at it before we started making any major issues
Yeah.
out of it.
well, the first thing, you start looking at the tile outlet.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's been froze, nothing's been running, so that's why I haven't
Right.
Right.
brought a big issue up about it. I just had a couple complaints, so I'm just passing the complaints along and trying to make it so we can get stone in a timely manner.
How deep is that tile there, Jim, where we're having the issues?
I don't remember. I really don't. It's probably 2 foot.
Because I'm wondering if we've got something happened that we're froze up, because of the way the frost is in the roads right now. It's down there pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
So,
I don't know, that's why I say I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. When everything starts thawing out, take a look at it a little closer and go from there. And that's why I haven't
see
patched
where
it.
the road itself would be frozen deep, but the ditches where the snow's been plowed over, there wouldn't be much frost over.
Well, see, a lot of them places there, that tile was real close to the I shouldn't say, they had to stay close to the chip and seal
Yeah.
because of the gas line or telephone cable.
So part of the snow got plowed off of, actually over the tile possibly on some of those spots, but
Yeah, well, and just even the migration of the frost, because, and I don't know, I've been working places that the frost varies anywhere from about 8 inches to 3 feet. And, yes, it is a definite concern, Abe.
Yeah,
And I haven't been through there.
I was driving around this afternoon, there's one road I didn't go on, so, I didn't even talking to Bill about it. The road, he didn't mention anything about it, I'm surprised.
Is the road actually pumping up and down there too, Jim?
I can't say for sure. Like I said, last time I was over it was froze. I was plowing it, and there was a lot of road to come off with the plow when I come through there. It's been froze, so it's hard to tell with everything being froze.
The other bad thing is where we cut that chip seal last year with the frost in the ground, now there's enough that it's pushing the edges up.
Yeah.
So we're going to grab it with a plow and rip it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, because you travel a lot of the roads now, and
It looks terrible in spots.
a lot of roads it's like riding a roller coaster almost, because there's just the way it's heaving.
so that's one thing you'll find where we tiled, that don't happen. The frost don't heave the roads up, but where it's not tiled, it does happen. You can ask Roger Greenwald, he traveled over the roads after they done that, and he told me, he said, it's definitely does wonders for keeping the roads from heaving, because of the water not
The
getting...
water should be out from underneath it, but the only, we haven't had frost this deep for a lot of years.
No, but like Seacrest Road, that's had frost on it a lot of times.
Not,
Since that was done.
well, I don't think this deep though, Abe. I mean,
I don't know, we was working on a fence road today, and the frost was only 4 inches deep most places.
it all depends on what's on the ground.
Where there's, like the ditches and stuff where there's snow on, I can't think there's much frost down in the ditches, but
Yeah, that's the only thing
I realize that it needs to settle, but we never had that problem before. Like Calla Road, that road was done, in the middle of summer. We done Calla Road pretty late, West Calla.
Yeah.
Never had a minute's problem.
Yeah, we definitely gotta go up and do some looking at it, because that's the first I've heard about it, and
The other issue I have is wondering, haven't heard anything about the roof here. It's been a year, couple, 3 months that you decided you was going to do something about the roof. You got any contracts on getting it done, or?
Yeah, we want to get up and see what we actually have with the snow. I mean, we've had snow pretty much since the second week of November. Between that and the cold, I don't really want to get up and tromp on it until it warms up and the snow's off of it. Try to come up with some idea exactly what we're going to do.
Oh, I see you never looked at it last summer.
No, we talked about it in the fall, and we never got up and got it checked, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Tom?
Just wanted to thank Jim and his crew for the good job they've done this winter. I mean, they've done a great job.
Yeah, they've had a rough weather.
I haven't hit on all the roads. I don't go on any more than I have to, but every road I've been on in Goshen Township, the guys have done a great job, I think. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a winter like that.
Hopefully it's the last one for a while.
Well, I got to agree with you. I hope everybody else, I think we're all tired of this winter. And I'd like to thank Steve and his crew. They've done a good job for us with the fire department out there to help us and all the things that we've gone through and things, Things don't always go smoothly, but hey, we do what we gotta do, and we appreciate the help that they give us, and I'm sure that they're appreciative of that too, so.
Thanks so much, Tom. Hilda.
Spring is here, Helen.
Huh?
I say spring is here.
I'm just asking for permission to buy some...
Go.
No, well, the other thing is, Jim, is that barrel, that old whiskey barrel, is it gone over there, or is it still there?
Where?
At the park, by the
I
fire?
think it's still there.
Well, I know it was looking kind of sad
You want it to
last time.
be gone?
I'd like for it to, but I'd like something else there to put some flowers in. And I'll
can
get
probably
some
put
other
something.
container to put where the barrel was. With your permission, I'll try not to rob the bank. But you'll pay for it. We will plant it, and the garden club had a rough time last year because it was dry and they had a lot of watering to do.
You guys do a wonderful job on that. We're never gonna turn you down as long as you
Okay.
keep it up, so.
If it's okay, I'll look for a container, I'll buy some flowers at Parks.
We're 2 weeks behind. They are shipping.
Well, I'm not starting tomorrow.
Maybe they'll get a replacement barrel over there too.
I'll tell you what, you're gonna end up getting a plastic one or something, because the wooden ones, you don't wanna pay the price. Yeah, they are like,
Get me the best for the
Cool.
cheapest.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing, thank you, Ellie. Okay, Todd?
I want to remind township residents that March 15th, when the decorations need to be removed from the cemetery, so that we can get them cleaned up if the weather ever gets a little bit better. Also, if you guys don't mind, I'd kind of like to check and get some prices on. They now have the exit signs in LED, the bulbs don't burn out all the time, a little bit more energy efficient. If it's all right with you guys, I'll try to get some prices.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the only other thing was, if it doesn't warm up, I'd like to maybe get a work lamp that we can get up here and see what we want to do with that roof. It's just, like I say, it's got to warm up. It's snow's gonna quit.
Yeah, I've got to get on there, because it's gonna be the rain season pretty soon here.
Oh, yeah.
Where the leaks
Other,
are.
we don't want to be walking on that roof when it's cold,
No, it's
because
gotta warm up.
you'll crack it more than what it already is.
But probably whatever we do, we sort of need to lay out some sort of plans, because every contractor's gonna give you a different idea and different price, so I mean, we got something.
Right, we've got to decide exactly what we want to do.
Yeah, we have to have some specs to bid it out by, because that's gonna be a biddable project, I'm sure, so. it's,
Well, every contractor's going to have a little bit different idea.
Right. I mean, so we're gonna come up with one way we decide we wanna go with, and everybody bid it to that, I think, what we have to do, so. Okay. I'll leave it, you guys sort of work on that, and
Like I
what
said,
your
it's
schedule
gonna
like to
depend
do it.
on the weather, so
Yeah.
that's what I've got.
Yeah, Roger?
Well, about the only thing I have, the winter conference seemed to be pretty good. They seem to have more programs on cemeteries this year than other years, and a lot of them had maybe a trustee talk with us too, and I'd say we're running pretty close to, as far as maintenance and so forth, with them. The trade shows seem to be quite a bit bigger, quite a few more things. And probably the only one I went to, they talked about road ditching, and about all they talked about was the big ditches that go through western Ohio that we do not have here, and how they obsess people's tax to get them built. But all the other programs I thought was very good. So I think that's all.
think this is one of the better years of the conference down there. I think classes were more updated, a little more current, and there weren't some laws repeat everything from other years. I went through probably eight classes, and if there's only one that was sort of questionable, I wanted to leave a little bit early because it wasn't anything new to it. On the cemeteries, a couple things that Roger and I both went to down there was stone repair and cleaning, and so we got some ideas and maybe some things to look into.
Yeah, now there's a company out there now that actually comes and cleans them, and I would say he does a very, very good job.
Yeah.
But I say he's very, very pricey,
I didn't hear the prices. What was
because he's from Indiana, if I remember right. And he sets the guys up in motels, and so you figure that between the motel rooms and the meals he buys, of course it's a very small crew, but then that was a trustee that had the demonstration there.
Right.
And fairly time consuming, but looked a lot better, I thought.
I think the big thing I sort of was interested there was the repair of the broken stones that they were doing. And it's surprising how fast the repair took a hold there where he could actually pick the broken stone up. I wouldn't have done that yet.
What, he leave it set for what, 10 minutes?
10, 15 tops.
Is that the demo they had?
Yeah.
The actual?
Yeah, he did it right there on the stage and went out to the end there and picked it up. And
He repaired this stone. I'm going to say it was a flat stone, probably 2 inches thick. Probably, if you stood it up, I would say it was probably close to 4 feet. The stone was probably broke off about 18 inches from the top. And he cleaned it, and I got to wrote down what type of epoxy type stuff he used. And held it there in like what I would call carpenter's vices. And probably 10 to 15 minutes he took the vices off and picked the end of the stone up like it was one piece of it, stayed together. He did say it wasn't completely cured yet, but how long it would last in the weather, I don't know. But
everything he was using for cleaning and for the repair was all, so you buy at the hardware store.
yeah, regular household.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was one of the better years. They had bigger turnout, I think, as far as trustees this year than they've had many years down there. A lot of new ones, of course. But yeah, overall, I think it was probably one of the best conferences for in the last 5 years at least. So. Okay. A couple other things I have. Last meeting we had to get approved to pump the tank over to garage. Did Charlie get over?
I got a hold of him. He said he was going to wait till a little better weather and take care of it.
Yeah, I'll call him on these other two then, because in the meantime we got letters on the one for the old building and the one for here that they need pumped also. So I want to make sure it's okay with you guys. Just go ahead and have Charlie do all three and be done. So I'll get a hold of him on those. And had a little bit of interest from Metro Parks again. I'll maybe doing something with the Bricker Park. I know I went through this before, and you guys sort of felt it wasn't a good idea at the time. I think the door's open again. If you want me to approach them again, maybe we can revive it again. That's just asking you guys. If you want me to go ahead and see what offers, what we can work out well.
See
Yeah, we could see what they're offering. I
feel it's probably gonna be about the same as before, but I don't know at this point, so.
guess I'm still back. I'd like to see what they'd offer, but I still would like to take it in front of the Bricker family. I mean, that's where it come from. I just feel that's kind of the right thing to do.
I mean, at this point, I don't know if anything's even feasible, but yeah.
I have no problem talking with them.
Yeah, the new director wants to come out and walk through it and so forth, so I wouldn't set up something.
Okay.
Maybe by next meeting, I can have a little more idea on it then, so. Other than that, I have nothing else. You guys have anything else? The next meeting will be April 14th, 2014, 7 p.m. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, Mr. McCracken?
Yes.
Mr. Heineman?
Yes.
Mr. Beason?
Yes.
We didn't do something.